reports on To Kill a Mockingbird, and I'm in there talking about Sojourner Truth and you know, Benjamin Banneker and all these different people when I'm like 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what I'm saying? We're going on trips and you know, to see like these civil rights activists' homes and where their hometowns. That's the stuff my parents were doing. They were taking us all these different locations to see these different places or landmarks. So we grew up unique, man. Like I was extremely blessed. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like my mother won YWCA Woman of the Year. You know what I'm saying? Like she was on the forefront of making Juneteenth a holiday in Utah. You know, she did that. I'm not gonna say she the forefront. She did that shit. She did that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna give her flowers. Like she's done some crazy things. You know what I'm saying? Like for the state, she made it a safe haven for Black people, and in turn sparked a bunch of different organizations and groups. And you'd be lying to say that she didn't have some type of influence on what they're doing. And that's what you want, right? It's not a competition. That's what we want, man. Like this feeling of safeness for Black people in Utah. Like I said, it's a state where you talking about we're the minority, like we're the real minority out here.
Yeah.
And they're doing everything in their power to keep you that way. So yeah, man.
Let me ask you real quick. Let me jump real quick. So growing up, being a Black man in Utah, like I used to shy away from that. I used to be discouraged when it came to, hey, people saying, hey, where are you from? You know, and then you'd say, oh, I'm from Utah, and instantly you get that, you know, the feeling. You've seen the reaction on people's faces, even you've done it your whole life. Like,
yeah, man.
Recently, I mean, I think it is post-college, like that's been like one of the biggest badge of honors for me. You know, even thinking about you talking about what you said, you know, because I find, you know, more, and not to shade any other body, but like I find that when I talk about Black culture, I'm in the know of a lot of Black educational things, you know what I'm saying? And I think, you know, especially when I talk to you, I mean, we know a lot about the history of things, but do you think that was part of our upbringing, of our parents? Like thinking about your mom's story, like it gives me chills because I felt like I grew up with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with y'all in that environment, you know, being that tight knit group, you know, and I think that because of the lack of Black people that there was in Utah, like we had that hyper focus on Black culture, you know, so we ended up getting that experience, you know, inadvertently, you know, and getting that education that needed to be there inadvertently, which is why, you know, kind of we developed into the men that we are. But tell me a little bit about that. Like, how do you feel? How has your evolution been being a Black man from Utah starting and then to now?
So like you said, man, like at the time, you don't realize like what your parents, what they're doing. Like by feeding me these books and feeding me this information. Like I kid you not. Like I said, I thought it was I'm like, I don't want to learn this. I don't want this. Like I'm not, like, why are you forcing this on me? Fast forward to like my adult life, I've been that person that people can turn to for this information or for this knowledge that I was given at a very young age, man. Because you struggle, like I said, you struggle with identity. It's like, I don't want to be MLK. Like, I just want to be Gucci Mane. Like, I just want to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be like my favorite artist, or I want to be like, I don't want to be this dude. Like, I'm trying to figure this shit out. Like, yeah. I'm this Black dude. I think I graduated with 2 Black girls and then my best friend. You know what I'm saying? Out of like, I think we had like 600. It was a crazy, our school's pretty big, Ogden High. It was a big graduating class, and there's 4 of us. We're struggling. You know what I'm saying? Like oh yeah, Juan Diego. Oh, I already know. Yes. But it was a struggle. Me and my little struggling brother with identity. Like all eyes are on you. From like I tell that story that Mook said earlier. It's like when I was in 6th grade, I remember my mom pulling me to the side and was like, "Yo, from here on out, you're gonna be treated like an adult. Like, you're not gonna be able to joke and play like Tommy and Eric. You're not gonna be able to goof around. Like, you're not." And mind you, me and my brothers, man, all of us honor roll. Like my 2 older brothers, they had some of the highest ACT scores in the state. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was honor roll, so it's not like we weren't dumb, but we were always getting in trouble for behavioral stuff. It was always just, how you on ISS and honor roll at the same time? How do you know how that works? You know what I'm saying? But it was common. So we struggled, man. Like
Hold on,
it was a
ISS.
struggle.
Explain to the listeners what ISS is, just so they know.
In school suspension. In
Ooh.
school suspension. So
I've been on that
you're
a
in
few
trouble.
times.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so we've been there, right? Like, and I don't know if it's the same like in the inner city, right? What the teachers are like, but for us, it's like we were always targeted, especially for our intellect. Like, if you even for a second question something a teacher tells you, or undermine, especially your white teacher, oh, they're gonna make you an example. You know what I'm saying? They take they take that shit personal. You know what I'm saying? And that was something I struggled with. So a lot of my life, like I dumbed down, even in college, like I dumbed down my intellect. I really didn't like shine how I should have. And I remember it was one point in college where my mom was like, I think she bet me I wouldn't make honor roll or something. It was like something like, yo, why don't you actually try? I'm like, all right, man. And I ended up making dean's list and president's list that year. The same year Barack Obama was president, you know, the same year, first year he was elected. So it was significant for me because I already knew what it was. And it was like, let me just put forth some effort. But my entire life, I dumbed that down. You know, I want to be the smart black dude because it's like I got metaphorically whipped every time I stepped out of line. Especially
by both sides.
Saw, you know,
by both sides though, because again,
black dudes, they weren't trying to hear shit I was talking about. Black dudes look at me like
you didn't have the credentials, bro.
Nah, even though it was crazy, like as much as my family did, as much as like it's important, my mom and dad worded the community. It was I always felt like this, like an outsider in my own community. Like they let me in, but they wouldn't fully let me in. Like I'm an adult and I'd hear stories about some of my friends as adults and they're like, yo, we did this and that. I'm like, when did that happen? Like, why ain't y'all tell me? You know, it was like I didn't get, because they felt like I was gonna judge them maybe or for whatever reasons, right? Like I never fully got like let in to like the dark side of the shit. You
was in general admission, but you wasn't in VIP.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know, and I don't know if they were looking out for me. I don't know if they were.
Right.
I don't know what the mindset was, but I always felt that way. It's like I never fully got let in, but I was always just because of how I was raised. I was always so cautious with white folks, so I wasn't let in, but I also didn't try to get in.
Got you.
So I was like in this weird like middle ground. You know, it was an interesting dynamic.
With that, how does that play a role with you raising your kids now? Do you put that same energy that your parents gave you, or do you
100%?
Okay.
100%, man. 100%. Like my kids' education, especially on their culture, like there's not a single book with somebody that doesn't look like them in it in my house. That's not because representation, man. We know what it is. Like as many people felt Black Panther, like to their core, like watching that movie. Like, you know how important that was to see that, little Black kids to see that. So my parents were already hip. So like now as an adult, I realized like they were putting me on game. So with my kids, man, it's just that's what it is. Education doesn't stop. It starts at the house. I'm not gonna let somebody that doesn't look like me, and no offense, they might mean well, like educate my kids. Like they can go to school and learn the basics. But when they get home, like, nah, bro, that's where we start. That's where we start because I want you to have the same leg up that I had. Like I said, I didn't go to private school, but I was raised that way. You know what I'm saying? Like I was raised that way. My parents didn't play with education. Like I was tutoring kids when I was in middle school. You know, my mother had a company called Project Success, and it started off as tutoring. We were teaching AIDS prevention. We were doing all these different things young. You know, I was doing that shit young. But like I said, I dumbed it down. I didn't want nobody to know. You know, I dumbed down my intellect. Like it was a struggle. But now I'm to the point now. It's like y'all gonna know about it.
See it, Jojo, that's why your story means so much. And I'm glad that you was able to share it because listeners can see that, you know, we all got different backgrounds, but like your family, like I'm not saying my family is under your family. Definitely not. Love my mom and dad. Like love my mom and dad, my family. But what your mom and dad put into you is such a big storyteller and like such a most important thing. Like my nephew right now, like I mentioned this, my nephew got a education scholarship. Like he inner city. he got an education scholarship from to UCLA, like, and that's like a big school. Like in California, that's big. He got that, and he was able to lean on me and ask me questions about, like, Uncle, what do you think I should do? And it's like, I think they got a career center, or a college room that you go to and you try to find these different scholarships. And one of the biggest things that he had was that a lot of people was judging him because he really wanted to get A's and B's. I mean, he wanted to get A's. He hated B's. He wanted to get A's. But it's being able for us as Black kings to be able to just be able to show that it's okay to be something different. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be like a know-it-all. You don't have to be a rapper. And JoJo, your story, it helped so much with me talking to some of my people and some of my friends about, like, man, like, you ain't got to be an athlete to be great. You don't have to.
Man. You don't, man. Like, you don't have to at all.
And then you could preach that to the kids. So that was really big for me. And I want to make sure to throw that out there, that my nephew was able to get an education scholarship. That's just dope. Because of the little things that I learned. And then hearing your story, it's like even deeper now. It's like, look, I know that you could do this. Like, I know that you could do this. And it just opened up those doors, being able to have us as not just mentors, but also the role models, that the experiences that we went through, that we could share with these young kids, whether they're inner city, or whether they're in Utah, or whether they in Vegas, they like whatever. Like, at the end of the day, it's possible. You just got to be able to listen, to be able to understand that somebody has been through this, and we're going to try to show you the ropes. You can lead the water. Box. Yeah, exactly. You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink. Yeah, and man, this is where we at right box, now. Man.
I love for real that mental box they put us in. Yeah, it's okay. Like,
it's okay to be
an intellect. Bro, I'm telling you, I struggle with this literally until like 9, 10 years. Like, when I'm in college, like, I'm over here playing dumb. Like, really in here, like, I'm out, I'm going to school in Oklahoma. No one knows who my family is, so I don't have to be JoJo, Betty's, and Butch's son. I get to be JoJo. So I'm out there just doing whatever. Like, bro, you're out here failing and doing, this ain't even your lane. This ain't even who you are. You're dumbing yourself down and thinking like you're just this athlete. It's like, bro, you can be literally anything right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, being eligible to play. That was the only thing that I saw, be eligible to play. And like, that's it.
And it's messed up because I fell into that mindset. Like, I fell into that, man. I was just like, oh, I'll just be eligible. It's like, no, bro, you've never just been eligible. Like, speaking for myself, like, that was never a thing. It was like, I was more than eligible. I'm trying to get football scholarships. And my first scholarship was not a football scholarship. It was, what was that scholarship for? It was something that had to do with academics. Like, I was not, like, that wasn't my first one, but my last one was football, and I fell into that mindset, that box, man. Like,
that's what I
have to be an athlete, right? I got to be an athlete. I can't get an academic scholarship on top of this. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not even thinking like that.
And I know we're going to wrap up real quick, but I think that, again, as Black men, that's not necessarily something that we adapted. You know, we want to be, we've learned to be dangerous by being quiet until it's time to speak. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we fall on that side of the sword where it's like, okay, I just want to dumb it down and not really be the person to speak. But we also want to be, like, I've always grown up saying, hey, be the quiet in the room, let them perceive you as the dumbest. But then when you got the opportunity, knock them dead. You know, when you get their attention, wow them. You know, so I think that's the corner that we had to turn. Is there's not necessarily anything wrong by being quiet and coming off and being perceived as stupid. But when it's time for you to speak with power, speak with who you are, speak with knowledge. You know, because that's exactly. Because the king is not the one that's going to walk in the room and saying, hey, I'm the smartest motherfucker in here. You know, this is why, and this is that. But it's like, hey, you know, you had to develop that. I think you had to develop knowing how to be quiet, you know, and wait to speak when it was your time to strike. You know what I'm saying?
Because they've been mentally just whipping you so long, man. Like, I'm telling you, man, that was my biggest struggle. It's like people trying to shut me down, or people just so focused on like my actions and calling it behavioral issues, when really, like, I'm just speaking out, or I just know more about this subject, or I know something on this subject, and I'm just speaking up, teacher. Like, I'm not trying to shit on you, but you're not going to say this, and this. and
It's
try
being
to
accepted.
you're not gonna shit on me and convince it's
Yeah.
raining. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna try to, you know what I'm saying?
Right. But that low key kind of gives me the chills because it's stopping us from